I have been on a recording hot streak today, although thankfully when I use the term hot streak I do not mean that it is literally blazing in here. As I have remarked in the past, it gets rather toasty up in this home office of mine some days. But today I have employed the strategy, which I hope will pay off, of recording multiple videos over the course of several hours because I am home by myself, as I feel like I say all too commonly anymore. I do still have a girlfriend at the time of recording this video on July 19th, 2025, but you would be forgiven for maybe thinking that that was not the case considering how often I remark as to her absence. All of that aside, I do not want this intro to drag on forever. So please consider supporting the channel in any of the given ways. It's a lot like driving a car. Follow the road signs. Today, I wish to embark on a departure of sorts, but I want to go over an Idearena idea that I had. And I want to, before I throw the picture up, just say that one of the comments in one of many of my videos, or in, I think it was a YouTube short, someone suggested this, and the other day I just sat down and put my mind to it. So whoever it was that suggested this topic, this video was directly inspired by you, and I know I have mentioned in videos in the past that there are other ideas that I wish to put into video form at some point, but I have not found the time for the one in particular that I am thinking of, which is a follow-up to a previous video that I have done over a year ago at this point. I'll probably throw a video card up at the top to get you moving towards that original video. Anyway, most of my Idearena episode videos have pertained to three-dimensional Godzilla fighting games, which this video will also be about, but usually I do it in kind of the frame of mind of a three-dimensional Godzilla fighting game akin to the Golden Trilogy by Pipeworks and Atari. Destroy All Monsters, Melee, Save the Earth, and Unleashed. But no, today I actually wish to talk about an Idearena idea built for a different kind of Godzilla 3D fighting game. Although to call it a fighting game would probably not be accurate.
Not right.
A tank simulator is probably a more apt description. Yes, that's right. Today I actually wish to talk at length about an idea that I personally had not thought about until someone commented it under either a video or a YouTube short that I have put out in the past year at the time of recording this video. Their idea was, what would Titanosaurus had looked like had he shown up in Godzilla for PlayStation 4, which also released on the PlayStation 3 in Japan and was also referred to in that context as Godzilla
Versus.
And I kind of tucked it into my content concept quiver because my first thought honestly was, wait, people actually enjoyed the gameplay of Godzilla for PlayStation 4 so much that they actually desired to see movesets / other monsters playable within that context? It legitimately surprised me. But anyone who has followed this channel for any substantive length of time, which I know is a pretty funny joke, but please withhold your laughter, I'm going somewhere with this. My original initial video for Titanosaurus as it pertains to the Godzilla Save the Earth Melee Godzilla Save the Earth mod project reached like something approximate to 1,500 or 1,600 views within 24 or 48 hours or something in that range. So it should be said that when I got a video idea suggestion in one of my comments in one of my comment sections about Titanosaurus in specific, I was like, this might be worth holding on to. People, understandably, reasonably, and correctly even, love Titanosaurus. For the record, so do I. Also, if you can't tell, I have a mini fridge up on my office desk now. I bought it for my girlfriend at the previous filming location when I made that original Titanosaurus video, but she doesn't use it in her home office. It was was just sitting in the basement. But I talk a lot during my videos and I need Sunny Delight Tangy Original Citrus to replenish my voice from time to time. Burns going down. That's a reference to Guardians of the Galaxy. Anyway, but okay, I just spent like 5 or 10 minutes that got cut out of the video where I was fixing up the layout for this, which is my layout now for reading Microsoft Word documents. As you can see, I have written up an entire page in my Idearena three-dimensional Godzilla fighting game moveset document, specifically for Titanosaurus, as I conceived of him as playing in a Godzilla for PlayStation 3/PlayStation 4 design context. As I state here, this moveset is meant to highlight how the character was portrayed in Terror of Mechagodzilla, but thankfully, due to Titanosaurus's playable status in Godzilla Unleashed on the Nintendo Wii, I was able to lift a number of the moves in this move list from that game's move list for the character. But the assumption is, as I state written there, that the moves animations are slowed down and given more meaty/weighty sound effects, such as would be fitting for a character added to Godzilla for PS4. I also note, as you can read there, this move list is kind of inadherent to the general sort of move list that a character would be given in Godzilla for PS4, and as I note here, the move lists for all the different playable kaiju in Godzilla for PS4 are kind of all over the board. It's been a while since I played the game, but in going over the move lists on Toho Kingdom's video games page for Godzilla for PS4, which I greatly appreciate by the by, it becomes pretty clear that Namco Bandai put a lot of effort into Heisei Godzilla /Godzilla 90s, but they put substantially and noticeably less effort into monsters like Hedorah and Jet Jaguar. As a result, my plan for Titanosaurus gives him a few more moves than he probably would have actually gotten had he been made playable by Namco Bandai in Godzilla for PS4. But at the same time, it also adheres to the general notion that monsters other than Godzilla have less moves than the Heisei Godzilla does. I'm getting tripped up over my tenses, but you get what I mean. Okay, so let's get into it. The intro music obviously would be the Showa music. I'll probably incorporate it into this video in some form or fashion. Titanosaurus showed up in the literal last film in the Showa Godzilla series, so it should come as no surprise that the Showa theme from Godzilla for PS3 and PS4 would be the background music for Titanosaurus's intro. Speaking of which, Titanosaurus's intro, I just named it Aquatic Annihilator. There's no real point in naming the intro animations for any of the kaiju in Godzilla for PS4, or really even any of the monsters that I have previously designed for a non-tank simulator Godzilla fighting game. But it's fun, I do it anyway.
I liked it.
So I'm definitely not gonna try to make a mock-up animation for this because I don't remember Terror of Mechagodzilla having anything that I could use to directly approximate it, aside from one specific thing which I will probably put up on the screen as I mention it. Basically, we have a camera and it's underwater and we see the submarine that Titanosaurus destroys when it first appears in Terror of Mechagodzilla kind of coming toward the camera. So if my webcam is the camera, basically I would have the submarine kind of moving like this, and then I would have it change camera angles very quickly to a more head-on direct down the nose view of the submarine, and then you hear Titanosaurus roar at the same time as you see the submarine show up in the camera view, and then it cuts to black rather snap, you know, and then the camera kind of crosses crossfades into that moment where Titanosaurus first appears in Terror of Mechagodzilla, where it kind of goes like this, and Titanosaurus kind of like moves around and roars a little bit before the camera crossfades a second time, as I note here, into Titanosaurus's idle animation, whichever that is. I don't really have any particular idea for what Titanosaurus's standing idle animation would be, aside from maybe kind of like this. Then I have some dialogue written here for what I would have Operator Naomi say when Titanosaurus loads into the map, much like is the case with every other monster in Godzilla for PS4. And for the record, her name is not officially Operator Naomi. In a previous video, which I will probably link right about now up at the top, I renamed her Operator Naomi in order to have a form of parody between her and Operator Yui from Godzilla Defense Force. I took a little bit of liberty with what she says because most of the monsters that get intro animations in Godzilla for PS4, if we want to adhere to their style, which is pre-existent, it would just be, it's Titanosaurus. Because as you recall, Operator Naomi usually preempts the appearance of the monster with, I'm getting a strong signal coming in now, or something like that. But the full dialogue I have is, it's Titanosaurus, and then a beat, a second, and then she would say, we should have heeded Dr. Mafune's warnings. Obviously, I don't have
a very girly sounding voice, but
you get the idea. You could probably visualize it in your own head without me having to imitate it. Okay, I did kind of invent my own non-controller layout specific way of referencing the different moves and types of moves. When I say basic, I just mean the square button on a PlayStation 4 controller, on a DualShock. If you've watched any of my previous Idearena move plans for those other kinds of Godzilla 3-dimensional fighting games, I did something very similar with that, although I had a little bit more to go on, whereas with this, I kind of just pulled input names out of nowhere. These are not official. Anyway, Titanosaurus, for its square attack, kind of just does this and does a basic jab, and then for square, he kind of does this. I think my legs shifted a little bit too much. You can't really see it, but that. And obviously, the animation for the second punch has a little bit more oomph behind it, if you'll forgive the technical jargon there. I have it verbally described, and I'm probably not going to be flashing a ton of meme images up on the screen while I talk, so feel free to read it at your own speed, and it is possible to pause videos with the spacebar, and then for square, so you hit square / the basic attack button 3 times. We have the first instance of a reused move, neck slash. If you've played Godzilla Unleashed, you know this move. This is the A and left, or A swing left, punch left attack that Titanosaurus has in Godzilla Unleashed for the Wii, where he kind of lowers his head and then rears it back up violently. To me, that just makes the most sense for kind of what you would give Titanosaurus within the tank-like combat environment of Godzilla for PS4. Then I have basic grab. Now, I'm pretty sure most of the non-Godzilla Heisei monsters in Godzilla for PS3 and PS4 do not have grabs, but like I said, I gave Titanosaurus a little bit more than a lot of those monsters, but not necessarily as many moves as Heisei Godzilla, who quite understandably had a lot more moves in its arsenal. Basically, I would just have it almost be a clone of Heisei Godzilla's grab attack in Godzilla for PS3 and PS4. I may be misremembering it, but I'm pretty sure you basically just like push up against the person to grab them, and they kind of just hang there for a second, and then if you do it again, Godzilla kind of just checks you a little bit with his chest or his shoulder or something. It's a grab attack in Godzilla for PS4. They're pretty damn basic. Okay, next up, the strong attack, triangle. The tail attack from Godzilla for PS4. Again, essentially you're just copying Heisei Godzilla with this. The only thing I note is that Titanosaurus does not unfurl / uncoil
As soon as I get home, I'm uncoiled.
its tail fin during the animation, and that will make sense in a second when I explain the move that becomes available to you after a strong attack. But I mean, how complicated is it? Titanosaurus just kind of spins and, whack, swats at the opponent with its tail. Now, if you don't hit the button anymore, that's just it. You just basically turn yourself around. But next I have strong mashed, which, I mean, again, highly technical jargon. If you mash the triangle button after you land that initial tail slap, that is when Titanosaurus unfurls its tail fin and begins to kind of whoosh it back and forth. And basically what I'm envisioning is that this would work kind of functionally similar to how in Godzilla for PS4, Hedorah can, produce chunks of acidic sludge bile, whatever, and those can cause flinching damage and hurt your opponent. So basically, when you perform a typhoon with Titanosaurus's tail, it effectively spawns in chunks of debris that can cause flinch damage, just like Hedorah's sludge grenades, Super Godzilla Gaming did a whole video on pretty much all of the movesets for all of the various monsters in Godzilla for PS4. I may have used many of those videos in order to come up with this moveset, so it would probably behoove you to check those out if you've never actually played the game, which no one can fault you for. Then, for strong input up, so triangle and up simultaneously, just reuse the tail uppercut A+B swing up from Godzilla Unleashed. We're not reinventing the wheel here, folks. Strong attack plus left or plus right is essentially identical to A and B, and swing left or right in Godzilla Unleashed. I think I've already said it, but pretty much all the reused moves, you just have to kind of fill in the blanks mentally in your own head and just pretend that the move is slowed down a lot and given more movie accurate sound effects for the stomps when Titanosaurus is kind of shifting its feet around. Strong down, again, we're reusing the A+B and swing down attack from Godzilla Unleashed on the Wii. Most of the other monsters aside from Heisei Godzilla did not have nearly this many unique moves within the Godzilla for PS4 combat environment, but considering I'm basically reusing a lot of Godzilla Unleashed attacks in this moveset list, I figured no harm, no foul, right? I mean, at worst, it's going to further entertain that one dude from my comment section from months ago, and you know what? He had such a unique and interesting idea that I decided to make a video about it in the first place. So, okay, this is probably one of the moves I'm least certain about, is Fight Lob, strong grab, so triangle while grabbing. Basically, I remember, and I rewatched some of Terror of Mechagodzilla when I was making this moveset plan. Basically, at some point, Titanosaurus, bites Godzilla's face. It's really weird, and he kind of, flings Godzilla around while holding him, using his jaw. It's kind of odd. I'll probably, I won't be able to throw the clip up probably because the Showa Mechagodzilla Idearena episode got so much hell from copyright, I probably can't play it. But if you've watched the movie, you probably know what I'm talking about and what I'm describing in the text on the screen. Okay, here's a little bit of a fun one. So the X button I called the charge attack button. Again, I came up with that entirely on my own off the top. It's just the X button input. So I would have it so that Titanosaurus kind of hops a short distance forward, and then I would have the roar enhanced version of that. So you do the roar, and then you press the charge button while interrupting the roar. Anyone who's played Godzilla for PS4 knows what I'm talking about here. And basically, I would just have it be so that instead of one hop, he does multiple hops towards the direction he's facing. You kind of have to remember, though, this is Godzilla for PS4 we're talking about here. The tankiest of tank controls. So enhancing the charge attack by an extra 2 hops with a roar PS4 is not very optimal for combat, but to be fair, I never played Godzilla for PS4 online. Not like I really would want to or should want to when stuff like Destroy All Monsters Melee and Godzilla Save the Earth exist. But then for the weapon attack, we run into a little bit of a conundrum. Because unlike Godzilla Unleashed, we're not going to pull a beam attack out of nowhere for Titanosaurus. Much like everything else in Godzilla for PS4, we want this to be Godzilla movie monster simulator kind of theme. So essentially the circle button has Titanosaurus perform the Typhoon move, so mash the triangle button, except kind of like in Godzilla Unleashed with the tap C button, tap weapon input. Titanosaurus kind of stands there and uses its tail to make gusts of wind in front of it, and just like with the mash triangle button attack, the gusts of wind create chunks of debris that cause damage to the opponent upon point of contact, and the roar enhanced charged version of the weapon attack is kind of just the same as the regular attack, just enhanced by some factor on account of the roar. I haven't played Godzilla for PS4 in a couple of years. I also don't know exactly what would be befitting of such a form of enhancement, but it's pretty straightforward. It doesn't need a whole lot of explanation. As you can see, weapon up, down, and weapon grab do not have attacks. Like I said, most of the other monsters aside from Heisei Godzilla do not have those sorts of attacks in Godzilla for PS4 anyway. But on the off chance that anyone wants me to make another Godzilla for PS4 monster moveset move list, I wanted to have all of the various inputs written down such that I could copy paste this list that I made for Titanosaurus in order to build that hypothetical Godzilla for PS4 style moveset, if you catch me. Then left turn and right turn is just double tap L1 or double tap R1. It's basically identical to Heisei Godzilla. As you can see, I kind of made Titanosaurus work kind of like Heisei Godzilla, who, if you guessed, you were right, is the monster that I spent the most time with in Godzilla for PS3 and PS4, specifically PS4. So when I wrote up something, I came up with something that I would be comfortable with personally. And then for the area attack, I gave Titanosaurus Tornado. So what do I mean by area attack? Area attack is the R2 button attack, which you could also simply refer to as the nuclear pulse input attack, and you'd essentially be right. Basically, Titanosaurus hunkers over a little bit and then slowly begins to rotate 360 degrees before ramping up speed incredibly fast, essentially enveloping its body and the immediate area in a windstorm tornado. And if this sounds kind of ludicrous and ridiculous looking, I invite you to look up the equivalent input attack for Hedorah in Godzilla for PS3 and PS4, because yeah, it looks kind of stupid. But yeah, so that is my total moveset plan for a Titanosaurus within the context of Godzilla for PS3 and PS4 kind of a deal. As I have said, I do have a moveset plan for a Destroy All Monsters Melee Save the Earth style fighter game plan for several other kaiju, which if anyone is at all interested in seeing, I can write up and finish or otherwise detail in their own videos. So if you got nothing else from this video, just know that I pay heed to any of the YouTube comments that I do receive, limited as though they may be. But like I said, that original Titanosaurus video for Godzilla Save the Earth Melee got a surprising amount of engagement. So I think on some level I am hoping that by giving one of my viewers something that they wanted, and also talking about one of the only perfect organisms in existence, Titanosaurus, maybe this video may succeed as well. I don't know if my moveset plan idea was any good. I hope it was. Please let me know down in the comments section. Consider dropping a like and subscribing while you're down there too. And if you want to go even further beyond consider becoming a channel member. At least at the time of recording this video, on July 19th, 2025 at approximately 9 p.m., I have a decent amount of content already up there for channel members. And as I've said in the past, I may expand that, but that would require that I have channel members in the first place. So anyway, do any number of those things for me, please. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and took it easy while you watched. It was relatively painless. Godzilla for PS4 doesn't have as extensive of a potential move list for any of its characters, so... But, you know, like I said, I was aiming to please. I wanted the guy in my comment section to be gifted with some Titanosaurus goodness, and couldn't we all use a little bit more of that in our lives? Take it easy, guys, and I will catch you on the flip side.
You gotta prepare yourself to hear and see some wild up shit.